Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Animal Football Insider on what's supposed to be a great night of conversation as we get ready for some great football action coming up this weekend, only to be kind of dampened a little bit by some news events of the day. We'll get into all that in just a couple of minutes. Stand by for this edition of the Animal Football Insider.
Welcome to Animal Football Insider, your weekly look into the happenings of your Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Florida Gators, and all things related to football. And now, from West Des Moines, Iowa, here's your host, The Animal.
All right, good evening and welcome to our show tonight as we get ready for a very important weekend, the last regular season of the National Football League. As we get ready for what's going to be an exciting weekend, make no mistake about it, and we'll get into all those details in just a couple of minutes. You know, we here are kind of somber here tonight, and we have the Animal Football Insider. I want to express our sincere condolences by the news events of the day. If you don't know what happened, let's kind of give you a brief overview. This is a news story. Here in Perry, Iowa, which I live about 20 miles away, at a high school, there was a shooting that took place today. 2 people have been killed, including the shooter and a 6-year-old young man. 5 people are injured pretty seriously, including the principal of the school. That's all the information that we have right now. So for me, it's kind of somber tonight because it's sitting kind of home here. But we're going to try and get through this tonight and have a good time tonight. On our show tonight, Lucas the Man Gator. He's sitting inside the green room, eating all the pumpkin pie that he wants to have that was left over. We'll talk to him about that a little bit later on the show. Our good friend Rock Riley from the Rock Stops here will join us here in a couple of minutes. Speaking of which, let's see here. Let's see here if I can bring him up. Rock Riley, he did a report earlier yesterday about the happenings with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's see if I can bring that up. There you see Rock Riley. And let's see what he had to say in his report about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the big game this Sunday.
Okay, so Baker Mayfield, he started practice. He was throwing very, very easy, just testing out those bruised ribs. Then offensive coordinator Dave Canales said he took over the third period. He was functional. He ripped some throws. Mike Evans told us that he hit me in stride. He looked pretty good to me. I also asked Canales, so you're going to spend more time with Kyle Trask this week? And he said yes. So it looks like Baker Mayfield will start, but the question is, can he finish? And every Buccaneer player that we talked to inside that locker room was saying that they want it bad. Let's see if they come out and start fast. That's the situation here inside One Buck.
That of course is Rock Riley, and for more on that, let's bring on the man, the myth, and certainly not the man, the myth, and certainly a legend in his own mind. Like we said, his own mind. He hosts a podcast called The Rock Stops Here. And if we can get him enough to put down that donut, he'll be able to join us on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. It's such an honor and a pleasure for you to join my show tonight.
The pleasure is all mine. And like you said, Animal, this is it. Let's enjoy every snap. This is the final weekend of regular season football. Playoffs start next week. We've got the national championship, and you know how that goes for college football. But we're here. We're at the end, so I'm going to try to enjoy every single snap, man.
Well, there you go. By the way, before I go on any further, I want people to know that are watching my show here tonight. StreamYard, which I broadcast through, is having some issues. So if you want to comment on what's going on and have some questions for Rock Riley, what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to get on my face. I'm sorry, Rock. I'm sorry for doing this real quick. But what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to
Right ahead.
I'm going to get onto my page here real quick so I can start the process here. So any questions that you guys may have, please bring them on. Please comment on my page, and I will do my best to answer those questions as quickly as I possibly can. You mentioned in your show and your little teaser that you did earlier today about the fact Baker Mayfield making some easy throws gives me the kind of thing in my brain here, and yes, the animal does have one, by the way, that those ribs are not healed completely.
Oh,
Can
not
you hear
even
me?
close. So let me go back to the. Yes, so I can hear you loud and clear. Very, very good. So
All right,
let's go
thanks.
back
Thanks.
to the game. Let's go back to the game on Sunday. When we went into the locker room, we were waiting. We got head coach Todd Bowles. Nelson, who is the head of public relations, will either say, we're bringing out Baker Mayfield, or it's going to be a little bit. You can go in the locker room, try to get some interviews. We'll let you know when Baker's going to talk. We were in there. We talking for, to just about everybody on how horrible that game was. And they had the look of like shock. You could have clinched. They were dominated, couldn't do anything on offense, couldn't do anything on defense. And it was, it was bad. But anyway, so then we were basically mostly all the players had already showered and were leaving. Nobody was around. All right. We're still waiting for Baker. We went in there. He was getting treatment. He had the x-rays done. And I'm telling you what, he had not taken a shower. When he walked into that media room where they do the interview, he was talking real low like this. And he was walking. You could tell, like, wow, he was really hurting. Now, he's very, very tough. He can play with pain, but it was obvious that, wow. So the preliminary report was the x-rays did not show a break, but there would be more tests. So today, yesterday on Wednesday, when we got there, I asked him, you said you were going to have more tests. Does it still show any breaks at all, or what's the deal? He goes, nope, we had more tests, no breaks. It's just very, very sore. And I'm going to see each day it should get better. I didn't test it out at all yesterday. They're having a walkthrough. It's called Walkthrough Wednesday, every Wednesday. They've done this the last couple of weeks. I'll tell you, last week when they played the New Orleans Saints, the Saints had a padded practice on Wednesday. They had to win to stay alive, and they got it done. I'm not saying that's the reason. They came out with more urgency, the Saints did, but you only get so many padded practices during the year now with the collective bargaining agreement. So the Buccaneers still, they went with the no real practice or walkthrough, but Baker didn't do anything. And he goes, I didn't test it. So I was there today when he tested his arm, tested to see what he could do. He was throwing very, very lightly. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow. What they did was they started out, they had Kyle Trask actually play wide receiver. And it was a matter of just going out for some easy passes. Canales he's the offensive coordinator. He was doing the same thing. Baker was just throwing, like just trying to test it a little bit. And I was like, boy, he's a ways away. So I figured, you know what? I'm assuming, I don't know. You still got a couple of days. But when we heard from offensive coordinator Dave Canales after we were kicked out, you're not allowed to watch the entire practice. He goes, now whether or not it's just coach speak, he's like, he was fully functional. He was throwing balls pretty good. He took over the 3-minute period, looked fine. When we got in the locker room, we asked Mike Evans. Mike Evans goes, he led me on one pass. He looked good to me. So I am assuming now that Baker will start. But like I said in my report, the key is, opponents are going to be going for those ribs, and can he finish? And then it would be in the hands of Kyle Trask to try to lead this team into the playoffs.
Yeah, we're watching video that you posted earlier, of Kyle doing Baker Mayfield doing some walkthroughs here. Usually the animal along with Rock Riley joining me on this edition. And as we join you, one of the things I noticed in one of the, on Twitter, there are a lot of reporters that will do some shots like you will do, and we have a lot of people do some shots. And one of the
Right.
things I noticed, and we'll go back and talk about this because this happened during the Detroit Lion Dallas game, in which two offensive linemen came into the game. They were supposed to check in. One of them did, and one of them didn't. So in the practice video that we saw today, we saw what Dave Canales was doing a mock check-in. I mean, and I'm told that there was a memo that was sent out about this. Go into details about that from what you understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about as far as Canellis doing a mock check-in. I mean, he may have done it when we were not allowed to see. The portion that we see is they do their running and their stretching. The strength coach yells out stuff. They're getting loose. They all come together in the huddle, out in the middle of the field. Blah, blah, blah. 1, 2, 3 Bucs. Boom. Whistle blows. Now the scoreboard goes 20 minutes, and they go to their position coaches, position drills. That's when the quarterbacks go down that far space. Then they run. Canales is always sprinting with Trask. They try to beat each other. Yeah, they do that all the time. Yeah, Canales has so much energy, man. And Trask sprints. He tries to beat him. Where Mayfield takes his time. He knows he's the starter. They were given a memo, and they probably went through that. Now, as far as the mock check-in, I don't know. Look, Shaq Barrett, who is the outside linebacker, told us today that, and we heard this throughout the locker room the last 2 days, Carolina Panthers have nothing to play for. It will make their season. So that makes them a dangerous team. The coaches are preparing us for anything, including possibly trick plays. Carolina might even try some trick plays with Bryce Young. You never know. So they're expecting everything. I'm sure they did go through that. Now that happened in the Lions game. So they're preparing for everything. But the thing is, when they won 4 games in a row, I'm seeing the vibe. I'm like, the offense is starting to click. There's talks about Baker Mayfield going to get an extension with the Bucs. Oh my God, this is good. Oh. And they were terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible. So go figure. I mean, it looks like they want it. They say today, oh, we want it bad. We want to celebrate. We want the hats. We want the T-shirts. NFC South. We'll get the home play. They're saying that. Let's see if they do it. They didn't do it last Sunday.
They looked more horrible than a Gator recruiter, trying to eat food. I mean, that was horrible in itself, Lucas. But here's the thing. We all know that teams have bad games. Make no mistake about it. We have seen where teams play bad games. But what we saw on Sunday, Rock, was a total horrible screw-up from the word go. And I don't know why. I mean, do they feel like that maybe they felt like maybe Carolina would be a winner, that they can just relax and
maybe
they let their guard down?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe because every week, for the last 4 weeks, Bowles has told them, this is our playoff game. You have to win. They were 4-7. There was no room for error. And they reeled off. They had that mentality. This is win or go home. That's what Tristan Wirfs was telling us. And they did it. But last week, there was wiggle room. Like we're saying, if you don't win, you still got a shot the following week against Carolina. And even Rachaad White, their running back, goes, man, we were embarrassed early. Like, we came out flat. There's no but they did. They came out flat. So, hey, you come out flat. If you lose this game to the 2-win Carolina Panthers, I think that there might be some changes. You know what I mean? There might be some changes. The Glazers, I saw Brian Glazier today, said hello to him, but he's not going to say anything. The Glazers are very, very tight-lipped. They don't tell anything at all. So we'll see. Will they give Todd? I don't know. But all I know is jobs are at stake. They better win this game because this is the worst team. They clinched for the worst record in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers.
And for them to come out and lose it, if they lose this game, I'm sure there's going to be changes. But if they lose this week, are they out of the playoffs, or can they still get in? If by God, some reason they lose, can they still get in the playoffs?
Yeah, most likely that's going to be it. And that they even said it today. New Orleans and Atlanta, one of those teams would be the NFC South division champion, believe it or not. So that's it. That's it. They'll clean out their lockers Monday. It's done. It is done. And like I say, there's going to be some jobs that are going to be up. Like we talked to Mike Evans today, and he has balled out. He really, really has.
Yeah.
He used to talk every single week. He stopped talking. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't like media. And he made the Pro Bowl. He was the one Buccaneer that did make the Pro Bowl. So
yeah.
Right. So PR said, why don't you just get your due and come on over? He came over. He didn't have any smile. He's been like that all year. One of the camera guys for Fox 13 has some good video, and he was saying that before Mike Evans left Raymond James Stadium, when he was walking off the field, he kind of like looked around, never had that. So knowing it might be his last game, you know what I mean? They might not give him the big top dollar, $30 million. So, I mean, a lot's at stake and a lot is going to change. It does every year in the NFL, but you cannot, the last two opportunities to clinch, and especially against the worst team in the league. But again, you got the QB factor, what's going to happen? Do they go? It sounds like, because Canales said today, he believes that Baker Mayfield, even with the sore ribs, gives them the best chance. So I believe that they're going to start him. But again, here comes Trask. Trask has been waiting his time. And when I asked Canales, I said, you going to spend a little bit more time? He goes, yes, I am. I am this week spending more time. But our quarterback room has been great. Trask has been waiting. So it might come down to Kyle Trask. How about that? And I know you're going to love that being a Gator, Animal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was going to be my next question about Kyle Trask. I mean, have you talked to Kyle Trask at all, being in that locker room? Has he had anything to say, or it's kind of like, whoa, step back. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. I'm going to take things as they come.
He's hit out. He has hit out. I have not seen Kyle Trask during media availability since maybe week 2. I think he's just a really quiet guy, and he doesn't want to say anything. He's not there. Like Baker, I never saw Tom Brady the entire time that we went in that locker room. Now, he was busy doing so much stuff that maybe that was the reason, or he just didn't want to be in there when the media would be in there. Baker Mayfield's in there. He's over at his locker. And today they had the NFL, these women from the NFL were around, and they had the sheets, the top 100, and they had 25 spaces, and they asked all the players to pick your top 25. They don't ask them to do 100. To give it to Baker Mayfield, even with the sore ribs, he stood at his locker. He was filling it out. I saw Evans down at his locker down there by Godwin down at that end. Normally he's playing cards with Devin White. He was filling it out. We didn't see Kyle Trask. He's very, very, very shy.
That's interesting. But then again, if he comes in Sunday and does a good job, he'll be forced to face media. So that's going to be another thing to keep your eye on. We saw the injury report. Baker's on that, among other players. Your gut feeling, and you just, what's the vibe that you felt today that's different from last week? I mean, is this more of an intense locker room this week than last week? I mean, give the Rock Riley perspective of things. That's what we want to know.
Wednesday, Thursday, yesterday, today seemed like business as usual. And I have been in NFL locker rooms for 30-some years, and it's very, very surreal, Animal, because they're going – same thing with Brady last year. Like, you're going through your same routines. They have up on the board. It used to be a whiteboard, but now it's in monitors. 6:30, mandatory weigh-in, mandatory lifting. Then they have the massage or masseuse. That's like at 9 or 10. Then you got meetings, lunch, and everything is up there. They're creatures of habit. Everything is done at the same time, going about their business. Then they'll have meetings. They bust chops a little bit. They'll talk a little bit. So it really seems like business as usual. The thing that was different for me was after Sunday's game. The look on their faces, like embarrassment, shock that they just got dominated. They didn't score an offensive touchdown until the 11th possession. I mean, it was at the end of the game. They finally had 2 scores, but I mean, they were throttled. And it was almost like they had no answer. They were shocked. So, but that aside, they put that aside. They do that, and now here we are on Thursday, but all the talk is Baker Mayfield. He's been there all season long. He hasn't been hurt. He's not really turning it over. There was a possibility that he might be in line for comeback player of the year. And now Baker Mayfield, he's got some serious rib injuries, and it might be Trask, and they haven't seen Trask. So that's what I'm saying. That's the X factor. That is the X factor for me. Rachaad White, he said he didn't have a good game, but he's been coming on. The offensive line, they did not do that good last week. They had been playing as a unit. Defense was okay. So that's the thing that comes down to me. And the thing about Baker Mayfield is he is one of those guys that he's very, very strong. He's tough. And he's going to tell you, like, I can play. But is it going to limit you? Are you going to be able to throw on a line the deep ball? The opponents are going to go for that. Is it going to take the coach to say, I know you're tough. I know you're in there, but you know what, man? You're looking to me like you're not able to make these throws. I'm putting Trask in. It might come down to that. Did you mute? You might have muted.
I'm sorry. I did. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Okay.
I got you now.
For Kyle Trask, if he goes into play, how important is it for him to come out with a good game?
Oh, it's his career. If he comes in and looks terrible, he's not going to get another chance. Because he had the chance. He did not beat out Baker Mayfield. He had learned under Tom Brady. He's in his prime physically. He's lost a little bit of weight. His body fat is down. His arm strength looks good. He's been here all year now. He knows this offense with Canales. He hasn't had and what an opportunity to do it and to clinch. And what if they go after that rib and it hurts again? And now Krass has got to be your guy in the playoffs. It's huge. Humongous for him. Now, Canales had a great line animal today. We're asked, well, what happened with the offense? What can you do, man, the spark? Do you run the hurry up? Were you trying to run it too much when you were down? And he said when he was in Seattle, he got this from Richard Sherman. When the stakes are higher, everything's magnified now. You're down do or die or you get in the playoffs. Your focus is smaller. You go to the fundamentals. Don't try to put in a whole lot of new plays. Don't try to do anything fancy. Just go on your basics and do them the best. And I think that's the key for Kyle Trask. They're not going to be fancy. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's going to be nervous. Come on, man. He's been waiting for this for 3 years now, where this is his chance. So it's going to be huge. And, he does the right thing. Everybody likes him. We just haven't seen him in game situation.
Well, Kyle Trask hopefully gets to start to play in the NFL. One guy that I don't think that will be playing sports anytime soon, as we kind of switch gears here for just a minute, is Wander Franco, and that whole situation down in the Dominican Republic. I don't see Wander Franco coming back to the Rays, if ever playing baseball again.
No, and I mean it's $140 million that the Rays gave them. However, I'm not a legal expert. From what I understand, if he is found guilty of this, then they will be able to get out of that contract, and then they will move on. So no, that'll be it. And it's a shame, Animal, because he is so talented.
Oh, no doubt.
Him, yeah. I never got to know him. Never got to know him really as a person because he only spoke Spanish. And I know the translator, but you can't go by that. You know what I mean?
No.
But just like he's incredible, man. I mean, and I would see him at his locker, and he was always working on stuff. Like he'd be sitting at his locker, and he'd be taking this little ball, and he'd be dropping it and catching it with the same hand. You know, boom, 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 like agility, this and that. Like, and you saw just how talented he is. But again, you never know what somebody is really like behind closed doors, you know. And
right.
And more and more the news comes out of the Dominican Republic, it's worse. But until he's not been convicted yet, so let's and you know it's in the DR, but boy, there's a lot of alleged evidence that he paying off the mother and the 100,000, and $1 million, and the mother looking for the money, and the girl was only 14, and it's all alleged. Let's let it play out in the court.
And we'll know more tomorrow. We'll know more tomorrow when the ruling comes out. Prediction real quick for Sunday. Bucs pull it out.
Yes.
Monday night national championship game. Washington versus who is it? Not Texas.
Washington.
I do too. I mean,
Michigan.
Washington versus Michigan.
Yeah. Hell of a game. You know what? Michael Penix Jr. You know he is a Dade City, Tampa Bay.
Yes, and he gave a shout out after. Yes, he sure did. I mean, I thought that was just awesome. That's why I'm kind of rooting for him, you know. So
yeah,
I think
I you know what? Washington is. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I love Penix and the way he plays the game. I mean, this guy. I mean, I know Jaden Daniels should have gotten the Heisman. I can understand that, but I think when all is said and done, it might be Michael Penix who might get the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. I don't know. Call me crazy, but you know.
He's had 2 major surgeries, though. That's the thing. But he's come through. He's been a winner. You look at his track record. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Michigan is good. Harbaugh's already hired an agent that deals in the NFL, so I think that he might be moving on.
Oh, really?
I think it's going to be a hell of a game, man. But yeah. But I'm going to go with Penix in Washington. What the hell? I
am too. What the heck? Let's just go for it. It's a local guy. Why not? Listen, thank you so much for joining me at the last minute. I'm sure we'll get you one more time before Super Bowl time, and I promise you I'll give you a week's notice next time. So, you know. All right? So, Rock, thank you so much for joining me. We're talking. There you go. Go Bucs, man. Thank you so much. Rock Riley. No, real quick, before I get you out of here, real quick. Give me 40 seconds, real quick. Talk about your show. The Rock stops here. Talk about what you got coming up.
All right. The Rock Stops Here podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Check that out. I always interview those that have made it to the top. What is their secret? How did they make it to the top? Also on Joe Bucs Fan, I have the Bucs Kickoff podcast. That's always 24 hours before every Buccaneer game. All the
I didn't know that
stuff that I see weekly inside One Buck. Oh yeah, all my inside stuff. And then Tampa Free Press, I cover the Bucs and the Rays and the Lightning, and I might have a couple of new shows along the way. So at Real Rock Riley on X, which was Twitter, and Instagram at Real Rock Riley, and on Facebook, Rock Riley.
I'm waiting to get you. I'm waiting to come on your show. You've been on mine so much. I figure I owe you a guest spot. So
you're too big.
We'll have to do.
You're too big, man.
Well, probably in the stomach, but that's another area to talk about here. So hey, listen, thank you so much for joining me. You have a happy New Year, and we'll talk to you down the road, brother. Thank you so much. Rock Riley joining me on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. He hosts the podcast. We're going to get you Coach Mogerson in just a minute, but I've had this guy on for quite a while. Lucas Gator. There's a lot of things happening with the Florida Gators, especially from inside the portal and the coaches. We're going to have Lucas on for like 2 or 3 minutes. And Lucas, as we bring you on, Gators made a couple of big moves today inside the portal to help their team. Talk about the 2 acquisitions in the portal that the Gators got today.
You have got former 4-star linebacker Grayson Pup Howard of Jacksonville. He played in all 11 games, had 19 tackles. So he's got SEC experience. And then the other one was
the George Combs, I think his name is George Combs. George Combs Jr.
George Combs, he's from Northern Illinois. Here, let me pull it up. All
right, real quick, because my guest is waiting. Let me talk to you about 2 things real quick. Number 1, Billy searched for an offensive coordinator. Talking to somebody today, he suggests an offensive coordinator may not be hired. Real quick, your take on that. Will he hire an offensive coordinator?
I honestly think Billy needs to hire an OC because he's wearing too.
But will he? But I don't care what you think. I'm asking, will he?
I don't think he will, but I think he needs to.
All right, and one other thing, real quick. How many will they go? Do they have any more signees in the second signing period coming up in February?
No, most of these guys are portal guys now.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to know. I gotta get to my next guest, so I would. If you want to hang on, come back later on. We'll talk some more if you want to. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll probably get him back on here in just a little bit. But Dave Murchison, the Iowa Barnstormer I was going to say quarterback. What am I talking about? The head coach of the Iowa Barnstormers. You're a friend of mine, one of the greatest guys in the world that you ever want to talk to, and a man that pays me more money than I don't know who, but he does kind of pay me money anyway. How are ya?
I thought you paid me money. Don't we have like a deal?
Yeah, that's right. We do have some type of deal going on. We gotta talk about that here shortly. How are you, man? What's been going on?
Good. Life is good. Holidays, you know how that is. It goes by so fast, but I can't believe we are. What is this? The 4th already of January 24. It's wild.
Well, and now you're starting the process of getting ready for training camp that starts. What, a little over a month from now?
2 months. So March 6th is our report date. So we're literally tomorrow will be like 2 months on the dot.
What goes through your mind as you're getting closer to the season? I mean, tell us the things that give us an insight of what a head coach is doing at this time, 2 months away from training camp. I mean, are you looking for more players to come on board? Are you trying to develop game plans with the coaching staff? Looking to take what's going on at this time for you?
Roster wise, we're pretty much set. So I think we'll probably sign one more guy. We haven't announced them all, so you'll see a couple more announcements here in the next week or so.
Right.
I think we have like only 2 or 3 guys left that we have already signed that we haven't formally announced with the press release. So we're in a really good spot there. It's just finalizing playbooks for 2024 updates. And obviously we have a new defensive coordinator. So that playbook is going to be a little bit different. So we're going through that with some staff meetings and stuff like that. And then we start presenting that to the players. So we get into some like Zoom, like stuff like this. So Zoom type of stuff, get in virtual meetings to do all the installs. We don't have OTAs and stuff like NFL teams do. So we can't bring all the guys together before training camp, but we can get them on these virtual meetings and install the offense, install the defense. It's going to be a lot of new faces this year. The kind of season we had last year, you just don't bring back a big brunt of your roster. We do have some guys coming back who are injured, but there's going to be a lot of new faces. So installs will be important. So we're kind of getting that set up from a coaching staff perspective and building some presentations for that. And then in February, we'll kind of get those rolling. Offensive and defensive install meetings and get guys ready. So when they get here on March 6th and get on the practice field on March 7th, we can hit the ground running.
as you go into this process a with a new coach, new defensive coordinator, how much is Dave Murchison involved in those meetings, or is it are you involved in those meetings with the new
Yeah.
defensive coordinator,
Um,
or is it like I'm staying out of this, I'm gonna let him run the show?
no, I mean, you got to find the balance. I think maybe the last couple of years, at least with us, I didn't push enough, and I think that's kind of got us where the situation we got into early last year, where I just didn't feel like we were preparing correctly. Um, so it's Anson Yarbrough is our new D coordinator. He's been around. He's got a lot of experience. Albeit he's a younger guy, but he still has a lot of experience as a coach and as a defensive coordinator. So it's his vision and his defense. But he and I have worked really closely like the last 3 months to just kind of build the defense, what things are going to be called. There's a little carryover in verbiage because we do have a couple guys coming back on defense. Ian McBurrow as the defensive captain's coming back. So to try to keep some language the same, that's a big thing with playbooks. A lot of the playbooks from team to team, even at the NFL level or at the college level, the playbooks themselves, the plays are almost the same. It's the
Mm-hmm.
verbiage, it's the language. So making sure the language is on point, making sure we have everything we would need. To me, the playbook is not not like the Water Boy where you have this magic green book with all the special plays.
Yeah.
It's to build a language so when you have to make adjustments, you can do that and speak the same language as to guys. So that's the big thing. So I would say, it's Anson's vision, but ultimately, my head's the one that rolls first if things aren't going
Yeah,
well. And
yeah.
it's a big year. We didn't have a good year last year. We had a good year 2 years ago. So this is a year that we got to do well to keep this train rolling, at least under my regime with the Barnstormers.
Do you feel pressure that you
Oh yeah.
want to have a good season? I mean, or is it like, it's going to be another season, we'll just take it as it comes, and hopefully we win? I mean,
No,
how does the coach approach that?
this is a pressure filled industry. So it's funny because I've been on both sides of it. As a head coach now, even too, 2022 was probably more pressure than 2023. I mean, 2023 we had terrible start, we had all the injuries and all this stuff going on, but we had some pressure. Then we won a couple games, and the pressure kind of dissipated because we kind of were at where we were at. Whereas in 2022, we had more pressure because we were winning, and you keep winning, and the pressure builds, and the pressure builds, and the pressure builds. So it's a different kind of pressure, but I would say when you're winning, there's more pressure than there is when you're losing consistently, unless you're in a position where you feel like you might not get to keep your job. So I do think that this is a pressure-filled year for a lot of us involved, for myself and Julie and some of the returning guys. There's expectations to get back to where we were in 2022 and maybe try to pull off a run in the playoffs and get to where this franchise was in 2018. But we feel like we have some good pieces. A lot of things have to happen between now and July for that to be in place. But yeah, definitely going to be heightened expectations and heightened pressure from the get-go this year.
Is it a good pressure, or is it like, oh no, my job's on the line kind of pressure? I mean, there's two different. I mean, there's two different aspects of pressure.
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of both. Like what we did last year was unacceptable in all of our eyes. Like that's not what we expected. That's not what we planned for.
Right.
We are a small market franchise, and maybe we operate a little differently than other teams, but we have an expectation of being competitive and winning more games than we lose. So that's what we have to get to. I am in a contract year, so I mean there is the if we have another bad year, I might not get another contract year.
No,
So it's
I'll be your agent and help you get that new contract, sir.
but
I'm going to help you with that.
There's a little bit of both. Like the expectations are there. We need to do better. We feel like we've put together a really good staff, a really good roster. Like as we get closer to the season, we can get on and talk about roster a little bit and some of the names and stuff. I mean, they're going to be a lot of younger guys and rookies, but guys that have had some extensive experience. Signed a guy just today who was with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year for a little bit coming out of college. So some really quality dudes to mix in with the handful of guys that we got coming back, 5 or 6 guys coming back.
There was some big news that happened in the offseason that 2 leagues, the USFL and the XFL, merged. Were you kind of surprised by that happened? I mean, is that a good thing? I mean, it seemed to me like that's decreasing talent by forming into one league. I don't know.
I think it's good and bad. I mean, the good in it is possibly having some longevity in spring minor league football outdoor wise. I mean, the XFL lost over $60 million last year. I mean, even if you got the kind of money that the people own Rock and that financial firm have, they didn't start the XFL to lose $60 million a year. The USFL didn't disclose how much they made or lost. I would assume that they lost less, but that's because Fox owned them, and it's that's part of their production costs probably aren't in the budget, right? So I think it's good in that aspect where they come together and they try to have something that has some longevity for 3, 4, 5 years. We had the AAF that blew up. We had NFL Europe that didn't work out. We had the last XFL with Vince McMahon that didn't work out. And then, frankly, we were probably in a situation where both those leagues by themselves, one or both of them wasn't going to work out. So bringing the pot together is probably good. It does hurt guys' ability for opportunities. Those are higher level positions for guys. They make a little more money. They have the gameplay is identical to the NFL, right? Not that our gameplay is super off, but it is inside. It is a smaller field. So it does cut opportunities for guys, which is disappointing. But, if you just look back at 4 or 5 years ago, there was zero opportunity in spring football. So the AAF was the first one that came back around in 2019, and they didn't even finish the season.
I was always under the assumption, by the way, Dave Murchison, head coach of the Iowa Barnstorm, joining us on this edition of Animal Football Insider. Sponsored, by the way, the fine people at Carpet Direct and our good friend Benton Taylor. So if you need any carpeting needs, give my good friend Benton Taylor a call, and he will be more happy to take care of you. I always believed that in the indoor football league, a player can only play in this league 3 years and has to move on. Am I correct on that, or is there extenuating circumstances?
No, that's you're half correct. So a player gets 3 years before he's considered a veteran, and you can have unlimited amount of non-veterans on your roster, but you only have 7 veterans. So after 3 years, if a guy is still trying to play in the IFL, he's considered a vet, and every team can only have 7 veterans.
I see. Okay, I didn't know how that worked. Okay.
Yeah, so there's the IFL has been considered and built to be a stepping stone league. So you're looking to get guys in for a year or two, get some more film, figure out whatever those higher level league want them to do, and then get out of here. So if you're in the league after 3-4 years, which there's a good amount of guys that are, it's still high level professional football, but they just don't want the league full of those guys. It's supposed to be a league of opportunity for guys that were overlooked from the NFL for whatever reason. So after 3 years, they become veterans, and you can only have 7 veterans on your roster.
Okay, that thanks for the clarification, but I wasn't sure of that. I know you got to get out of here real quick, but we can't. I don't think we can let you go without commenting on the events that happened today. That frankly, that have shocked the state of Iowa, if not the country. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
What are you referencing? The incident?
The incident in Perry at the Heights.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen. I don't think they've released a ton of details, but anytime you have a tragedy like that where people are getting shot in a school setting, and it's just terrible for the people involved, and hopefully they can sort out as best they can, what happened, and try to prevent it in the future.
2 people killed, including a 6-year-old child, 5 people injured, including the principal of the school, and that's the news that we have right now. So that's what's going on as well. We're going to be talking to you later on down the road, no question about it, and maybe we can do a Barnstormer weekly show. I don't know. We'll have to get together and talk about that. See what happens. So that'd be fun to do. Coach, I know you got to run. Thank you so much for taking. Oh, by the way, before I go, who you like in the game Monday night? Washington, Michigan.
Michigan. Michigan,
Yeah,
I think they're going to be too physical for Washington. That pass rush is just so dynamic. The front like 6, 7 guys for Michigan are unbelievable. So I feel like as good as your guy Penix is, I think Michigan's going to pull it out, and then Harbaugh can say he did his duty and head on to the NFL.
Here's what I don't understand with the Alabama-Washington game. Why didn't Milrow just take the ball and run it on the left side? I mean, you know they're going to block the middle. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I think it was a little bit of a panic, and again, it was that defensive line just dominating the line of scrimmage on that play. So he didn't really have a whole lot to do. They were in his face right away.
Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. I know you got to run. Give my best to the wife and the kids, and we'll catch you on down the road, sir.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
God bless me.
Right.
Coach Dave Murchison, head coach of our wonderful Iowa Barnstormers. Sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking, but then again, I don't think a lot. Check my Facebook page, see if anybody's commenting on anything, and I don't see anything at the time, but I do know that Suzanne Conyers, from my good friend down in Florida, is watching. I want to say hi to her, and all the others may be watching that I don't know. So Luke is supposed to come back on to get more information on what's happening here. Maybe we'll try and get him back on in just a minute or two. I would tell you, as we get ready for the game coming up Monday night, Washington and Michigan. First of all, that Washington-Alabama game was a pure classic. I think that I honestly believe that game will go down as one of the more awesome games that we will see. I mean, that is a game that I would not mind watching 5, 6, 7 times. That's how good the game was. Okay? And it wasn't about Alabama whether they won or lost, so I'm glad they lost, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But it was just a pure, great game. I mean, both teams, the game was not really that far out of reach during the course of the night. Michigan had that great drive down the field that caused them to tie it up and send into overtime. And I got to tell you, I was just very, very impressed with the way the Michigan quarterback played. And I forget his name. Let's see here. I forget his name, but man, he was fantastic. He was just J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy. He did such a wonderful job. And for the Washington Texas game, Micah Penix did a hell of a job. He really did. I tell you what, I think that Michael Penix is a lot better than Caleb Douglas. I really do. And for those that don't know, Caleb Douglas, former quarterback for the USC Trojans. He won the Heisman the year before, last year. Didn't win this year, obviously. People seem to think that he's going to be an overall number 1 pick, but I got to tell you something. Michael Penix, and the way that he played in the semifinal games on Saturday, was just fantastic. And the way in Texas, and the way that they and give Texas credit where credit is due, they did not give up to the very end, to that final play of the game. And one of the things that people seem to forget about when you watch that game, go back and watch the very end of the Washington Texas game. The very last play, the DB, they swiped the ball away. But one thing that people do not see is that he was holding on the play. If you go back and see, you'll see where he was one of his hands had one of his hands on the side of the receiver, and he jumped up to swipe the ball away, which was a great play. But it was kind of sneaky because there was no official on the other side to see it. So basically, that DB got away with a holding call, and was able to swat the ball away and cause Texas to lose that game. And you know, as I'm watching the game, which show did you watch? Did you watch the traditional show, or did you watch the Pat McAfee deal, where you had like four people commenting on the game, and they had another set crew in Texas, and Matthew McConaughey, who's an actor, big time Texas fan, he would come over and talk to the guys for a while, and then he had to put the mic down and go watch the game. And the people at ABC were just having their camera on Pat McAfee the whole time. I think they kind of overdid it with that, but by the same token, I thought that it was a great broadcast. I think the Pat McAfee people will have have a set on ESPN too. But my best show that I like to watch, and they used to have this, well, they have head coaches from other schools watching the game and giving their analysis. I think that is so cool, and I hope that ESPN does something like that. Again, that championship game is going to be on this coming Monday night. Watching something here real quick. Yeah, you can see Baker Mayfield just moving very, very gingerly. And as I was talking to somebody tonight, Baker may start, but will he finish? And to the person I talked to, it's like, yeah, that is such a great question. So we're gonna see what happened. And how about this? The Pro Bowl came out, and they only have one person. I know Rock had to run, but he there's the Pro Bowl voting that came out, okay, and in the voting there was only one player that got named to the Pro Bowl. Obviously, that's Mike Evans, named to the Pro Bowl. But there was another player that got shafted, and that was Antoine Winfield. Okay, Antoine Winfield got shafted by Buda Baker, who is a DB for who got snubbed, and it's just amazing. It just really amazes me that Antoine Winfield got snubbed. And a lot of people are reacting. About the voting. And as Antoine Winfield dad said, I mean, you think about this. I mean, for Buda Baker, he has no interceptions, forced fumbles, or fumble recoveries. I do know for a fact that Winfield's had like 5 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, and a couple of fumble recoveries. And Antoine Winfield's dad just came on to Twitter and was just adamant. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, Baker has no interceptions, no forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries, and no sacks on the year. And Baker's played in 11 games. Now, for Winfield, he's played the entire season, 3 interceptions on the year, 5 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 5 sacks. That's courtesy of Greg Allman of the Tampa Bay Times, or the Atlantic, I should say. The Atlantic. Excuse me. And that is just, in my mind, just horrible. You want to know what's really also horrible as well? is the action that we have going on this weekend in the National Football League. Now, the reason why I say it's horrible is because there is going to be there's going to be games both Saturday and Sunday. And let me get you the schedule here so I can tell you all. Pittsburgh will be at Baltimore. That's a 3:30 game on ESPN, followed by Houston and Indianapolis. Then Sunday, 5 games in the 1 o'clock slot. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Minnesota, Detroit, Jacksonville, Tennessee, New York Jets at New England, Atlanta at New Orleans, and of course the Bucs will be at Carolina. Other games, the Bears at Green Bay for 3:25. Wow, there are 6 games. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in the 4:25 window, 3:25 Central Time here. Cincinnati at Green Bay, Denver at Las Vegas, Eagles at the Giants, Seahawks at the Cardinals, Kansas City at the LA Rams, LA Chargers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Chief at the LA Chargers, and then the Rams will be at San Francisco. Dallas will be at Washington, and then the headliner of the night, Sunday night game, Buffalo will be at Miami, and that is your deal for this weekend. Now let's see here. Let's see. Do we have playoff projections here that I can find? Don't have it here. By the way, most people are giving the Bucs 72% chance of making the playoffs. So I think that's at least pretty good. As far as my pick for the national championship game, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I really do. I think what we're about to see is two heavyweight teams going at it head to head. The matchups are great. I think that Washington's offense matches up well against a very good Michigan defense. I think the Michigan offense is going to have some trouble against the Washington defense. I just think all in all it's going to be a great matchup. And I like it, and I like the fact that Alabama's not in it because for once we can have a national championship game without any talk of Alabama or any talk of Georgia. Neither one of them. Okay? And so I kind of think that Washington's going to come out and win this game, but I'm not going to be I'm not going to be totally shocked. You know, and I just think that this is one of those games. This is one of those games where it's just going to come down to the final. Could come down to the final possession. I just think it's going to be that one of those games, and I think that in the end, I think that the Huskies are going to come out and win the national championship. Will not surprise me at all. By the way, Jacob Marshall, defensive back for the Florida Gators, who announced today that he is staying at the University of Florida. So that's big for Billy Napier. And the 2 portal gifts that he got today, I think that's nothing but helps them out in the end. Okay, and as Lucas the man Gator says earlier, that they're going to go after the portals, so they're not going to do much in the second series of high school recruits. So I think Billy's finally getting it together. I think that as time goes along, Billy Napier may take control of the offense. And look, a head coach has a lot of duties. And we know that, folks. We know that. And I think that for a guy like Billy Napier, he's trying to, yes, maybe trying to wear too many hats, but you know what? This is his team. And if he's going to coach his team, he's going to go down with them, come hell or high water. And you may not like that, but you have to respect for what he's trying to do. You have to respect for what he's trying to do. And until this team just, if they go like win 2 games, yeah, I could see them making a change, but I think that Napier has this team on the right track, and I'm not that worried right now. And I personally, I think that Billy had somebody in mind to run the offense, just not wanting to name it. There's a place and time for everything. And he's going to do that. He's going to announce an inside linebacker coach and a couple of other moves as well. And I think what Billy's doing is just waiting until this season with the NFL gets over with. In fact, I'll tell you what. I think by this time next week, I think my prediction is Billy Napier will have an offensive coordinator in place. He'll have a new inside linebacker in place, and we'll see where Rob Sale and the other coaches what their positions will be. So I think I'm predicting, and I have nothing on this, folks. That's just pure speculation on my part. I think that we're going to have an offensive coordinator 1 week from today. And if not, then it looks like that Billy Napier could be running the offense for this year. So we're going to find that out. Again, Bucs, Panthers, Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central on Fox. Check out your local team. Check out your local TV Fox affiliate to watch the game Monday night on ESPN. It's going to be Washington, Michigan, and Texas for the national championship game. I'm really looking forward. Okay, I am really looking forward to this. And of course, there's been a lot of conversation about where to play the national championship game. Danny Cannell, who I don't put much stock in, but he makes an interesting point. And this is about conversation about where to place the national championship game as a permanent site. Cannell replies, I love the Rose Bowl as much as anyone, but let's not lock it in as permanent host of the national championship game. It is not only a place with nice weather and tradition, not to mention the cost it would take fans to travel out there from all parts of the country. Cannell goes on further to say, I would go with the 4-site rotation, the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and Sugar Bowl. I think Cannell makes a very good point about this. But now, would you make like the Rose Bowl the national championship game? Or would you make the site the national championship game? That's what could become interesting. And if you do it like that, okay, I would not have a problem with it. But if you put the Rose Bowl as the national championship game, I think it loses its luster a little bit because the Rose Bowl is a Rose Bowl. That's my opinion. I don't know how anybody else would feel about that. Check see if anybody's commenting on anything, but yeah, I would I would definitely put the I would definitely put it like that he was talking about. So we're gonna see what happens, and of course we'll let you know what happens here as um, we get ready for the big game coming up here um, in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to see here if I got anything here. Hang on just a minute here. Got that right there. Let me do this right here. Oh, and by the way, in a couple of weeks, I'm trying to get a page for the Animal Football Insider, my own web page, and hopefully with that we can improve on these comments coming through, and we'll see what happens with that. So next week we're going to be back, same time, same place. Hopefully have another edition of the Animal Football Insider. Trying to see if my boy is still there. I see Benton Taylor. Good to see you, brother. Hope everybody had a happy New Year. Again, let's keep the thoughts and prayers of the people in Perry, Iowa. 6-year-old child has been killed. 5 other people have been injured, including the principal. Keep those thoughts and prayers. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Animal Football Insider. Until then, thank you all for joining me tonight. Make it a great day. Thanks to Rock Riley, Dave Murchison, Lucas the Gatorman, and thank you all for joining me on this edition. We'll be back for another edition next week, 7 p.m. Central Time, right here on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you want. We'll be back next week. Until then, y'all make it a great day. As I always like to say, if you're not a Gator, you're primed to be Gator bait. Good night, everybody, and God bless.
Thank you for watching Animal Football Insider. Be sure to join us every Thursday night here on Facebook Live.